made it hard for us at the start, but a big effort to come through. At one stage, it was going to be one of our shortest tournaments.
Yeah,
The last time we had such a bad run would have been the '99 World Cup, where we went with a lot of hope but came back empty-handed.
welcome back to Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast, Season 2, first episode. Cricket World Cup happening in Australia. We took a big break for nearly about 2 months. Lot happened in those 2 months. Good to see you, Bora. I know you were meant to play cricket today, but everything got cancelled. We had floods last week. So how are you going, and what's been happening for the last couple of months?
Hey, yeah, good to be back. We had a good break. I think good time to reset. Be back now. Excited to be recording a few more episodes. You're right. It's been poor weather across Victoria. You copped the brunt of it, but we've been. We ideally will be in round 3, but we haven't even played a game yet. So, nonetheless, the World Cup's kicking off here. Sri Lanka in playing through. So we'd like to, I guess, kick off with that, have a chat about that through this episode with us.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a tough qualifying campaign. Like we always talk about, we don't play our first game in a tournament, and we did the same again in the qualifiers. We lost to Namibia, but we made a strong comeback and won the next couple of games, and became number 1 in our group, and we made it to Super 12s. Last couple of months have been eventful. Certainly the last week was. I had to evacuate because we got floods. We were warned to evacuate from our houses, and we have to move away and for a couple of days. But luckily we survived. But not many people, like some of the houses were not as lucky as I was. But people asked us why we stopped recording these episodes. We did it for a year, Bora, and we had to reset and just recharge the batteries, because we had there's a big cricket season coming for us as well. So it was the time to do it. I know we missed the Asia Cup. People have been sending us messages, emails, and asking us why aren't we doing the podcast during the Asia Cup, which we ended up winning. But it was a tough call, but we had to make that call, isn't it, Bora?
Yeah, with a view of what's in store ahead, we thought a good time for us to have that break, but focus on for the coming months. I guess with just I think straight into the brunt of things with cricket. You're right, Sri Lanka always tries. I guess we've made it hard for us at the start, but a big effort to come through. At one stage, it was going to be one of our shortest tournaments.
Yeah.
The last time we had such a bad run would have been the '99 World Cup, where we went with a lot of hope but came back empty-handed. This one started that way, but we've managed to turn it around quickly. And unfortunately, Namibia, who was the team who looked like they'll be the first one to qualify, got knocked out of that group stage. So, but I think we are in a good position to be. I know there are a few niggles and headaches that are going through the camp at the moment, but still in a good position rather than being on the plane back home. So we've gotten ourselves in a tight group, especially playing in conditions we are at. But they'll try their best. I mean, it's not the first time Sri Lanka has found themselves, struggling through a campaign, but we are in a better position
Yeah,
compared to the few years ago. I think going by the qualifying, there were a lot of things that you kind of, pull your hair out watching the games, but um, it shows how the finer details come into play in these tournaments with us.
yeah,
One example I like to share was when we beat UAE convincingly, but there was a passage of play which I was watching and I know it wasn't the best passage of play that we played uh, during the game. We had Jeffrey Vandersay, who was the
yep,
substitute fielder. He came out to field, and Vanidu was bowling at the time, and Jeffrey dropped that. There was a high ball that went towards Jeffrey at long on, but he dropped the ball. But if you rewind back, the scenarios I was thinking was he got a substitute fielder. There's a lot of dew around the ground. He's hasn't had his focus in the game because he would have been running and around, carrying drinks,
mhm,
enjoying a bit of banter while watching the game, and suddenly have to go and field in a hot spot. Which a lot of teams don't make that mistake. Those are,
yeah,
you've got to put your best fielder out and long on. Generally in T20 is one of your best
mhm,
fielder has to be there.
yeah.
As soon as I saw that mistake, those were the things that were on
Little
my
things, huh?
mind. Yeah, little things. And then next time the ball went straight up between Banuka and Jeffrey, and I don't think there are best fielders out there. So we could have played a bit more smarter.
That
Um,
ball almost hit Barnuka's feet.
Yeah, so in the management, I'm sure they would have reviewed that, had a chat. Look, this can't happen again. So that's what I'm hoping to see, those kind of mistakes ironed out coming into the main event now.
Mm,
Um, and hopefully, we put up a good fight and, scrap a few wins because we've lost a few players because of injuries.
yeah,
Um, so it's going to be tightly fought games if we were to come across. So you need a bit of luck as well now at this stage
yeah.
with players being injured. But playing, it's an open tournament. They say a lot of the guys have said it looks like it's at one of those open tournaments this year.
Oh, it is. It is. Like Netherlands got through with us in our group, and in the other group, Zimbabwe and Ireland got through. West Indies, two-time champions, they're knocked out. They lost
Yeah.
2 games. So yeah, it is an open tournament. T20 cricket, like on your day, you can beat any team. Um,
Yeah.
so we are starting playing against Ireland in Hobart, and Ireland
Yeah.
has been playing all their games in Hobart. So they'll be a tough team to beat there because uh, it took us a couple of games to get used to Geelong. Like it's we have the plans, we talk about the plans, but once you start playing, when you execute the plan, sometimes they don't uh, come off. And I mean, in a T20 game, couple overs will decide the game sometimes. So we did lots of mistakes in that Namibia game. uh, we couldn't execute our plans. We couldn't make the batsman hit towards the long part of the ground. So
Yeah.
same when we were batting, we tried to clear the boundaries like 80 meters long. So I mean, you have to be smart playing in Australia because the field is bigger than what we used to play on, and the pitches are different. We saw one in the using his round arm delivery more. He has more control over it now. So yeah, I think like playing a qualifying round is good for us because we let's be honest, like we are not a powerhouse team like
Uh,
England or Australia. So we have to play our card smart. So I think playing those 3 games has helped us, and we know what our combinations are. Uh, we are a bit unlucky with injuries. I mean, we
Yeah.
really wanted Dushmantha Chamira to fire all cylinders in this tournament. He was starting to the. I mean, that was heartbreaking to see. Because when he gets those early wickets, Bora, you don't see him pumped up like that, and we really want someone like him to lead our attack. But Lahir Kumar came back strong to bowl that last over under pressure. Remember in the last World Cup, everybody blamed him because he couldn't execute the Yorkers, and this time he came through. But the challenge is to do that under more pressure against a better team. So I think I can't say we are 100% ready, but I think we're nearly there. So Srilanka's got some runs.
Yeah. I
Here.
reckon in a tournament like this, you're right. I think the qualifying is a good way to go. I know there are a lot of frustrations around, or the worry, fear of losing to your Namibias or Netherlands and not qualifying there's a big impact on the playing 11, because as much as the viewers, the guys who are playing there feel that pressure walking back home, because they like, you hear people say, no, they would have lost to teams that are unknown of. They feel that pressure and they want to come over it. But I think if you lead up from the Asia Cup, not playing much cricket, we've done a bit of training, flown out here, and then playing the qualifying is a good indication to see where things are at. Ideal scenario is we would have had played more, a few games before the lead up to it, but we use the qualifying as those match time or game time. They'll reassess. At the moment, the way the plans are working out is they'll bat around Pathum Nissanka, who seems to be the guy to bat through. Kusal Mendis is showing glimpses, just that his stats overseas, especially in Australia, hasn't. There's a lot to improve on, but we know the quality he brings. So the team will bat around Pathum, so gives the freedom to your Kusals to bat through. Dhananjay now will hold his own with Charit because of the injury that happened to Danushka. Bhanuka at
Was
the
it an
number
injury
5, 6. Sorry?
Was it an injury though?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's soft tissue injuries, which I think it's the right moment to ask, do you bring back the 2K time trial to, get these lower body injuries sorted? But they'll assess that, I think, after this tournament, where things are at. Do you do a fitness test or bring it back? And the number 8, like Vanidu Hasranga, is one of the top players leading in a tournament. So we've got a good combination going. Dushmantha will be a big factor, but I mean, you were to substitute pace, we've got Lahiru Kumar. It's just the game sense where Dushmantha has shown over the last few years is massive. That's what we lack. Our bowling attack's pretty good on paper. With your Mahesh, Vanidu, Lahiru Kumara Binura left armour. I think he should be playing games now. And then Charmika has to step up now. He'll come into the limelight a lot more now because of.
We are playing in Australia, so you're playing as a bowling all-rounder.
Correct.
This is the best place to do it.
Correct. You can't hide in Asia while the spinners are doing their jobs and being a fast bowling all-rounder. Here, you just got to step up a bit more. And because he has the ability to swing the ball, he'll be a factor in Hobart with the new ball. I reckon they should go with him to start off with at the start of the innings. And hold back Mahesh slightly rather than opening and wasting that over. I think they did a good tactical move. If you go into the last game where Dhananjay bowled that first over, so they just 1 over. A lot of T20 teams use that to get that 1 over aside, because the games.
You're a big fan of that, Like,
the
then
game is so
you only have to
detailed.
worry about 19 overs as a captain.
Correct. And a lot
Yeah,
of
you're
teams
right.
sit on that first over without hitting going hard. So you can sneak the ball. A lot of teams use that tactically, and I think we gave it a go. Um, there are a few tactical decisions you see which are really good. Like the first in the power play, you notice each bowler's bowling only one over
Yep.
once and they rotate around.
Yeah.
So in terms of preparation, they're looking good. Um, yeah, I'm sure they'll amp it up when you come against the tighter teams because your intensity generally lifts against playing teams you regularly play against. It's
Yeah.
that unknown teams which kind of you tend to you can't gauge as much what to bowl, and you're trying to find mistakes of the batters. And like you said, we were trying to bowl uh, shorter when the boundaries on the shorter side. They're probably trying to gauge whether this batter can play the short ball.
Yeah.
Um, and we lost out on a few momentum, especially in that Namibia game, which that last 5 overs, the
Yeah.
game it looked like we had it under control, and it over by over it looked like the scores getting ahead of us, and that
Yeah.
momentum's hard to stop in a T20 game. It doesn't come back.
You can't pull it back.
Yeah.
So we are starting in Hobart. Then
Yeah.
we're playing Australia in Perth, Bora, which will be a tough game because
Yeah.
Perth is always a tough place to play against Australia. But against New Zealand, we are playing at Sydney, which is a good hunting ground for us. Afghanistan at Brisbane. You talked about like they are not unknown, but I think it's a team where we should go all out. In Brisbane, you get the bounce as well. I reckon just you got to blast them out. Otherwise, you can't let them come into the game, especially their spinners. And once again against England in Sydney. So 2 games in Sydney, which will be beneficial for us. It's a good hunting ground for us. So
with the spin makeup of our team with spinners, you think we'll be comfortable to play more games in Sydney. It's a tournament where we just got to keep being close to the pack and to try to make it to that top 2 team. I don't think it'll be a dominating group. It's a lot of other teams, the decisions might work in our favor in our group stage as well. So that's how tight this group is. On paper, I think England, Australia look to be the top 2. Afghanistan, Sri Lanka probably then, or New Zealand fighting for that's how the ranking would fall under. And on the other side, you got India, Pakistan, and the rest of them fighting for South Africa. Might be a dark horse in this tournament, fighting for that top 2 positions.
Weather might play a role in few games as well, Bora. We are not playing in Melbourne. We play, but England playing in Melbourne, Australia playing in Melbourne. I think Afghanistan and Ireland. Those 4 teams playing at MCG. So the way we had rain the last few weeks, those games might get affected. So which might
the weather's you're
into
right.
our
The weather's definitely gonna play a part this year or the last few months. It's just been so wet. Even part of New South Wales towards Victoria, we've copped it now, but that's regular rain. Which I don't know. I mean, India playing Pakistan. There's expected 100,000 people here on Sunday, but there's a massive red card on at the moment, which hopefully doesn't ruin that atmosphere. But coming into our Sri Lankan setup, Barry, nothing can lift. We are still struggling with the number 3, number 4 spot. I think 1 and 2, they're looking good. But there's always a risk. The first two can get out cheaply. That's the nature of T20. That's where the number 3, number 4 has to come into the game a lot more consistently. We don't have a number 4 at the moment.
No.
Charit, ideally you want to be playing Charit regularly, but for some reason we've tried and fiddle with him a lot more. So he's showing a little bit showing low on confidence, I think. And Banuka looks to be that number 5 to bat through, which he did in the Asia Cup as well. So
he had a couple of good starts, which he didn't really kick on. But he made a statement. He wants to be the player of the tournament. So
yeah. Well, the tournament starts now. They don't.
Yeah, maybe he saved it for the best. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, we know the quality he brings. And yeah, he's one of those game changers who he loves. And again, his techniques looks all right or good against the quicker pitches. So he might enjoy that a bit more as well. And him and Dasun need to come through. I think there'll be a bit more on Dasun now that we've lost some of the players. And Vanidu, I think you would have heard me talk about this a lot of times.
Number 5.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are to look after the batting, that might be a move that we have to consider, just to look after it. But at the moment,
like play him as a floater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we might have to come up to that number 4 or number 5 position.
Not too early.
Yeah, the challenge you have is the confidence what Charmika and the rest of that lower group brings into the mix. So I think that's what's holding Vanidu a bit behind. But I reckon if there's an opportunity, he'll slot him up. He looks one of the better guys while batting through. He bats through that middle stages with a good flow. Doesn't need the dot ball, plays spin really well. And we need to use him. See, looking at this squad with the outside, I think I was reading through the squad, and one player I wouldn't have mind being in this mix would have been a guy like Lahiru Madhusankar, because of being that fast bowler in all-rounder, and generally from that pack of players, I think he can bat.
He's overshadowed by Charming, isn't it? So
correct.
It's a tough call. I don't know.
In a tournament like this, I think would have brought him in because he's got the quality to get around. But the camp might have assessed what they need at that time.
Brilliant fielder too.
Yeah. So Sri Lanka play in Ireland. Hopefully that's a good way to start off. Again, we played some tough cricket to get to the main event. And now if you were to pick a team, who do you want to play first from that group? I reckon you'd say Ireland as the first game. So it works in our favor. Knock them out of the way, get a win, whilst other teams might lose a game and lose confidence while we build on it. Those are little things that help in tournaments like this.
Like we did in the qualifiers, we can't afford to lose the first game because we're playing better teams now. It's very hard to come back. So we have to make sure win against Ireland, win against Afghanistan, then beat 2 other teams. So that's the way to get into the semi-finals. But we'll be talking about the tournament regularly. We might do a few podcasts, a few short ones as we go. Maybe not lengthy ones, but maybe before a game or soon after a game, we'll release a podcast.
Sounds good, Vida. I reckon good way to wrap up today's episode. Keep an eye out on the Sri Lanka Ireland game. If you pick any passages of cricket that we'd like to share, like the one I spoke about, Jeffrey, or that passage at Over, where we could have been smart on the game, we'll definitely highlight it and have a chat about that on our next episode.
Yeah, we're a bit rusty because we haven't done this for a couple of months. So after a couple of episodes, we'll be back in form like Sri Lanka team. Just want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or we are on YouTube as well. So that help other people to find this podcast. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for listening in, guys. Catch up on the next episode.
All
See
right.
ya.
See ya. Bye bye.